Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to this Sohbet on this the 6th of October 2025. These have been a harrowing past few days here in the UK. First, we saw the attack on a synagogue in Manchester, followed by an attack on a mosque in Peacehaven. And this attack on a mosque is, according to the information gathered by Tal, one of 19. These are very concerning times. It was also mentioned in comments on one of the Facebook posts I was looking at earlier that there have also been arson attacks on churches. And this is something which is not reported in the press. So this is a sign of something which is deeply troubling. If you go back to medieval times, in this country and in many parts of the world, even a fugitive that was on the run, someone who was wanted even by the king, could seek refuge in a church or in a mosque, and they would be safe for the time that they'd be inside it. Yet today, the mosques, the churches, the synagogues are themselves not safe from attack. Such are the times that we are living in, that nothing is sacred. Of course it is. You can't take this, you can't change the fact that it's sacred if it's sacred, but it's certainly in the minds of some people. Even the sacred has become profane. Where do you seek refuge if you cannot even be safe in a place of worship? It's deeply troubling for that congregation at the synagogue in Manchester. A friend of mine who I was chatting to earlier, actually a couple of days ago on the weekend, their father prays at that synagogue. Another friend of mine, their son was driving past at the time this attack happened. Both of different faiths. An attack on places of worship is not an attack on one community, it is an attack on all of us. And we must work together to tackle the issues that cause this in the first place. Where does all of this hatred come from? Why are we living in a time where the sacred is no longer respected? What has broken down within our society? Who is even asking these questions? And this is not about people being atheists either. There was someone who commented, an old friend of mine, commented on my Facebook, and he said, "This is why I don't have a religion. Because the religions are the cause of all of the problems," or something along those lines. I told him, I said, hate does not have a religion. And some of the people who commit these terrible crimes are religious, and some of them aren't. It has nothing to do with a person's religion. In fact, whether a person is following Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, or any of these religions, which one of these religions calls us to go and bomb a place of worship, or to attack it, or to go inside and kill the people who are inside, or attempt to do any of those things? Show me which one teaches this. None of these religions teach this. I know within my own religion of Islam, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, absolutely forbade anyone from attacking anyone in a state of prayer of any religion. He absolutely forbade attacking priests, rabbis, monks, religious people, places of worship of any religion, even during a time of conflict. And this was continued by the Khilafah Rashidin, the righteous caliphs who came after him. So there's absolutely no excuse within Islam for anybody to be doing this. Jesus said, "He who takes the sword will die by the sword." Christianity does not teach attacking synagogues or mosques or places of worship. Which of these religions teach it? I don't know of any of them that teach that. Even atheists usually are very peaceful people. Most atheists would not want places of worship to be attacked or bombed. Many atheists are quite intellectual, and it's indeed their intellectual insights which give them pause for question, which is fair enough to them. So where is this hate coming from? This hate is not coming from religion, it's not coming from philosophy. This hate is coming from the evil malice which develops in some people's hearts. What it comes from different things. It comes from, issues that get to people. They have a grievance with someone from a community, but instead of seeing it from one person that somebody's done something wrong, they take out that grievance upon an entire community, as if an entire community is to blame for the crimes of particular individuals or even particular groups within that community. You cannot blame an entire community, whether it's the Jews or the Muslims or the Christians. Each of these religions has many followers, the Jews less than the Christians and the Muslims, but each of them, many people. The Jews is what, about 6 million or more? No, 13 million, I think, internationally. Within this country, the Jewish community is very small, about 1% of the population. Internationally, Christians are about, 2 billion people. And Muslims are approaching that. Hindus, 1.5 billion or something like that. Some of these religions are more concentrated in one country or another country. But none of these religions are teaching people to go and attack each other. But if people have grievances and then they blame an entire, you're going to blame an entire 13 million people or an entire 2 billion people or 1.61 billion people for the crimes of a few hundred or a few thousand within that religion? Clearly, the numbers speak for themselves. When you're talking about such numbers, these people are in no way representative of the whole community. Even if we have, I'm going to be generous, a few hundred terrorists in this country within Muslim community. Even if we have that, does that mean the rest of the 3 million Muslims are to blame for that? And this goes for any other community. And don't think, oh, I am this religion and they're another religion. And, so having no compassion for me, we have to treat these things equally and fairly. And ultimately, this is the root of the problem. It's people that have allowed their own personal hatreds, grievances, or perceived grievances, because sometimes the grievances are not even based on facts. Probably more than sometimes, a lot of the time. Because sometimes when you look at what people are believing, they're believing things that are unfounded, that there isn't evidence for to back it up. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Holy Quran that if you hear a report, to verify it before you do something that you may later regret. Verify it. And this is a wisdom that is it's a wisdom that's found, it's a universal wisdom. It's not something which applies only to Muslims. If you hear something, it's hearsay. Literally, it's not called a fact, it's called hearsay. If you take hearsay to a judge in a court of law in any part of the world, that judge is not going to accept that hearsay as if it is evidence. He'll say, bring me something verifiable, bring me some evidence, prove your case. Of course, where does a lot of this hatred and perceived grievances come from? Well, we only have to look at some of the videos that people get fed on social media these days. And what's worrying, even though I'm not against AI, I use it myself and I'm quite a fan of it when it's used in a positive way. But AI is now being used to generate photos and videos which are not real. We must be aware of that. Not only that, but even articles on blogs, and even sometimes they make their way onto news channels. Unverified information, which is being fed to us by algorithms. You have a particular interest on an issue, it's noticed you've liked a few posts or videos on that. So whichever, whether it's Instagram or TikTok, whichever social media platform, it feeds you more of what you've clicked on previously, or similar to what you clicked on previously. And some people, they are just following this and taking it all in as if that's all verified and factual information. And of course, when you see it, it doesn't mean that it's not either, just because it's on a social media channel. Some of it is. But unless you checked it, you don't know. And even if you've checked it, you don't necessarily have the full perspective or the full information. You only have a short clip or a photograph. And I'm talking generically, I'm not talking about any specific issue here. But obviously, people in different communities have their particular interests, and everybody as individuals has their own particular interests. And these social media channels, they will feed that to you. And so if you're not careful, you can end up in an echo chamber where you're being fed things about a particular issue of which you may be concerned. And if you're only looking at that, and you're only looking at things from one perspective, you may come to the conclusion that that is exactly how things are. It might not be based on anything. Or it might be based upon something that is a local thing and not a general thing. Unless you investigate further and verify that information, you do not know. And some people will allow their tempers to get the better of them. And then they will prepare to do something which is violent. And then they target what they think is a target. But that target, more often than not, is innocent people who have nothing to do with their grievance or their perceived grievance. One of my students is a former neo-Nazi, and he was telling me about things that he absolutely believed before, and how he acted upon that information. And he went and protested, and it was only when he saw a child on the other side of that fence, suddenly he realized, well, what if that was my daughter? And that woke him up, made him realize. But he was a neo-Nazi. But you could easily, it could be someone who has other interests, other grievances from another background, but similar. Targeting people who were not really to blame, protesting at them, or worse. These are going to be particularly testing times, especially with the advance of AI, and AI is going to come into all aspects of our lives. It's going to flood our social media channels. It's also going to be in mainstream media. It's going to be in everything. So we need to be aware of what it's capable of and not take everything on face value. We need to be aware of how we're being influenced. Let us not be pawns in someone else's game and just swept along by the tide. Otherwise, we can make a lot of mistakes and end up getting ourselves into a lot of trouble. And this is also important when we're countering, when we ourselves or people in our community have been targeted, such as the Peacehaven mosque and the other 19 that I mentioned, the 19, not mosques necessarily, I think it was hate attacks against Muslims in the past week or so. How we address that, how we deal with that is very important. And we must not make assumptions and, suddenly protest against some other community or something like that. And the same, obviously, to the Jewish community and Christian communities and other communities that may have suffered as a result of attacks with a terrorist or arson or other issues, and whether here or abroad. We are not going to resolve these issues in that way. We need to come together on a platform that is based on principles and the mutual respect of places of worship, of human beings, of everyone. We're all human beings. In this country, we're all British, we're all citizens, or even the people who aren't are people who have right to remain. We're all part of this society. And we need to resolve these issues together. We cannot resolve it any other way. And we also need to call out the government to take action on these matters and to take them seriously. Both government and the MPs, people in the House of Lords, and they need to put things in place which do not increase the hatred and bigotries, but actually work to counter this. And also ensure that we all are safe within this society. People who are criminals need to be dealt with. And when there is propaganda out there that is promoting hate, promoting violence, this needs to be tackled. But that doesn't mean that we get people arrested who are just making stupid comments on Facebook either. This needs to be tackled in the best way. I've heard some ridiculous stories in the past few months of people being arrested for just a comment on Twitter or Facebook and then being locked away for not even just a few days, but for years. There are people who are committing real crimes in this country. There are people who get attacked in the streets. There are murders that are unsolved. And people are getting locked away for a Facebook comment or a Twitter comment. X, I know it's called now. That doesn't solve anything either. But at the same time, there is a genuine issue of the promotion of hatred, the incitement of hate, it's called, that does need to be tackled. And people who are seriously intending to commit violent crimes against any community, white, Asian, black, Chinese, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, Hindu, all communities are suffering with this. Anti-Hindu hate is quite an issue at the moment as well, and that also needs to be tackled. But this needs to be tackled robustly and for the benefit of everyone within our society, not singling out any particular community or another. And this is a responsibility of our elected representatives, and it is a responsibility of our local authorities and police forces. And they need to step up to the challenge. And we as citizens need to call them to step up to that challenge, and in the appropriate way. And we need to do that shoulder to shoulder and together as one society, because no one of us can tackle it on our own, nor any one of us communities. But if we work together on that and tackle it in the appropriate way and robustly, then inshallah we'll all be safe and we'll have a good future. It's a bit of a difference from my usual Sohbets, I know, but this is an important issue. It needs to be addressed, and we cannot be complacent about this. I do not want to, keep turning on the news and hearing about another synagogue attack or a church attack or a mosque attack or an attack on a temple or individuals of any of those faiths. We should be able to be safe in the United Kingdom, and crimes should be appropriately dealt with. And that is a responsibility, as I said, of government, of law enforcement. Also, local authorities have a part to play in that. And we need to call them to account and call them to step up. And that is a responsibility on us as citizens to do that. And we mustn't shirk from that responsibility. May Allah bless you all. Thank you for joining us today. If you find these video podcasts useful, please, if you can donate something to the Buy Me a Coffee link that I've put up there, even if it's just a few pounds every month, it helps me to be able to produce content. And the more people support me, it will help me to improve the content. Also, please like and subscribe to the videos and share with whoever may find this useful. Assalamu alaikum, brother, friend from Indonesia. I hope you're doing well. Apa kabar? Okay, well, I have to sign off now, but thank you for tuning in. May Allah bless you all. I pray you all have a wonderful week, and I pray that this is the end to these attacks on our places of worship. And from my perspective, any place of worship, whether it is a synagogue, a church, a mosque, a Hindu temple, any of our places of worship, is an attack on all of us. It's not just, just because I'm a Muslim, I'm not just looking out for the mosques. And none of us should be only looking out for our own place. They're places that people from our communities go and seek solace, go pray, and they should be safe places for all of us. May Allah bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.